Hyun-woo wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked his scanner one more time. The crystal caves of Kepler 442c were beautiful but hot. The mining company had sent him here to look for rare metals, and he had been walking through these tunnels for 3 days now. His boots crunched on the glowing purple crystals that grew from the cave floor. The scanner in his hand beeped softly, showing him where to find the best mineral deposits. Everything was going according to plan until he heard a weak sound coming from deeper in the cave. Hyun-woo stopped walking and listened carefully. There, it was again, a soft whimpering sound, like a hurt animal. He knew the company rules said not to bother with local wildlife, but something about the sound made his heart ache. It sounded so sad and desperate. He followed the sound through a narrow passage between 2 large crystal formations. The whimpering got louder as he walked. Soon he came to a small chamber where several crystals had fallen from the ceiling. Under one of the fallen crystals, something small was trapped. Hyun-woo knelt down and carefully moved the crystal aside. Underneath was the most amazing creature he had ever seen. It was about the size of a house cat, with shiny scales that changed color in the crystal light. 2 tiny wings were folded against its back, and 4 small legs ended in delicate claws. Its head was shaped like a lizard, but its eyes were large and intelligent. The creature looked up at him with those big eyes, and Hyun-woo could see pain and fear in them. One of its wings was bent at a strange angle, and there was a cut on its side that was bleeding a thick blue liquid. "Hey there, little one," Hyun-woo said softly, the way he would talk to a scared cat. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature tried to move away from him, but it was too weak. It made a small chirping sound and fell back down onto the crystal floor. Hyun-woo opened his emergency medical kit. He knew it was made for humans, but maybe some of it would work on this creature too. He took out a small tube of healing gel and very gently spread some on the cut. The creature flinched, but did not try to bite him. Next, he looked at the broken wing. He had learned some basic first aid, so he carefully straightened the wing and used a small bandage to hold it in place. The creature watched him the whole time with those intelligent eyes. "There," Hyun-woo said when he was done. "That should help a little." The creature chirped softly, and Hyun-woo thought it sounded like a thank you. He could not leave the poor thing here alone. Even though the company rules said he should not interfere with local animals, he could not walk away from something that was hurt and helpless. He took off his jacket and carefully wrapped the creature in it. "I'll call you Bit," he said, "because you're so small." For the rest of that day, Hyun-woo carried Bit with him as he finished his work in the caves. He shared his water with the creature, dripping small amounts into its mouth. When he stopped to eat his emergency food bars, he broke off tiny pieces for Bit to try. At first, Bit would not eat anything, but by evening, hunger won. The creature nibbled at the food bar and seemed to like it. Hyun-woo was happy to see that. Bit was getting a little stronger. That night, Hyun-woo made camp in one of the larger cave chambers. He set up his sleeping bag and made a small nest for Bit using his spare shirt. The creature curled up in the soft fabric and fell asleep quickly. Hyun-woo lay awake for a while watching Bit sleep. The creature's scales glowed very faintly in the dark, creating beautiful patterns of light. It was like looking at a living piece of art. The second day was much the same. Hyun-woo continued his mineral survey while taking care of Bit. The creature seemed to be getting better. Its wing was still bandaged, but the cut on its side was healing nicely. Bit was also becoming more active, often poking its head out of Hyun-woo's jacket to look around at the caves. By the third day, Bit was strong enough to walk on its own for short distances. Hyun-woo was amazed at how quickly the creature healed. He started to wonder what kind of animal it really was. It seemed too smart to be just a simple cave creature. When Hyun-woo knelt down to collect crystal samples, Bit would watch him carefully. Sometimes the creature would chirp and point at certain crystals with its nose. Hyunwoo started to notice that the crystal's bit pointed to always had the highest mineral content according to his scanner. "You're a smart little thing, aren't you?" Hyunwoo said, scratching gently behind Bit's ears. The creature made a happy purring sound. On the last day of his survey, Hyunwoo packed up all his equipment. It was time to go back to his transport ship and return to Earth. He had found enough rare minerals to make the company very happy. But what should he do about Bit? He could leave the creature here in the caves where he found it. Bit was much healthier now and could probably take care of itself. That would be following the company rules. But when Hyunwoo started walking toward the cave exit, Bit followed him. The creature chirped and flapped its good wing, trying to keep up with his longer steps. "You want to come with me?" Hyunwoo asked. Bit chirped loudly and ran in a small circle around his feet. Hyunwoo looked down at the small creature that had become his friend over the past 3 days. He thought about the cold, empty caves and how lonely Bit would be here, all alone. He thought about the company rules and how much trouble he could get into. Then he thought about those intelligent eyes and the way Bit had helped him find the best crystals. "Okay, little one," he said, picking up Bit and putting the creature inside his jacket. "You're coming home with me." As they walked out of the crystal caves together, Hyunwoo had no idea that this one simple act of kindness would soon change the fate of 2 entire species. The cargo ship Soul's Pride was not a fancy vessel. It was built to carry mining equipment and minerals from distant planets back to Earth. Hyunwoo had traveled on it many times before, but this trip was different. This time, he had a secret passenger hidden in his personal quarters. Captain So Young was a tough woman who had been flying cargo ships for 20 years. She ran a tight ship and did not like surprises. When she found out about Bit 3 days into their journey, she was not happy. "What is that thing?" she demanded, pointing at Bit, who was sitting on Hyunwoo's bed. "It's just a small animal," Hyunwoo said, trying to sound calm. "I found it hurt in the caves. I couldn't just leave it there to die." Captain So Young crossed her arms. "You know the rules about bringing alien creatures aboard. This could get us all in serious trouble." Bit looked up at the captain and made a soft, chirping sound. The creature's scales shimmered with gentle blues and greens, creating a peaceful pattern of light. "It's harmless," Hyunwoo said. "Look how small it is." The captain stared at Bit for a long moment. The creature tilted its head to one side, as if it was trying to understand what was happening. "It has to stay in your quarters," she finally said. "If anyone asks, I don't know anything about it." Hyunwoo was relieved. He had been worried that Captain So Young would make him put Bit in the cargo hold or worse. Over the next few days, Bit proved to be a fascinating companion. The creature was incredibly smart. It learned to understand simple Korean words very quickly. When Hyunwoo said food, Bit would run to its feeding bowl. When he said sleep, Bit would curl up on the small blanket Hyunwoo had made for it. Even more amazing was how Bit seemed to understand the ship. The creature would often stare at the wall panels that showed the ship's systems. Sometimes it would chirp and point at certain displays with its nose. Tae-ho, the ship's engineer, was the first crew member to meet Bit officially. He came to Hyunwoo's quarters to fix a broken air filter and found the creature watching him work. "What's this little guy?" Tae-ho asked, not seeming surprised at all. "This is Bit," Hyunwoo said. "I found it on Kepler 442c. Tae-ho reached out, his hand slowly, and Bit sniffed it carefully before allowing the engineer to pet its head. "It's beautiful," Tae-ho said. "Look at those scales." While Tae-ho worked on the air filter, Bit watched every move he made. When the engineer dropped a small tool, Bit quickly picked it up in its mouth and brought it back to him. "Smart little thing," Tae-ho said with a smile. "It's like it knows what I'm doing." The next day, Bit proved just how smart it really was. Hyunwoo was in the ship's common area when the emergency alarm started blaring. Captain So Young's voice came over the speakers. "All crew to emergency stations. We have an engine problem." Hyunwoo ran toward the engine room, but Bit was faster. The creature had somehow gotten out of his quarters and was already in the engine room when he arrived. Bit was standing in front of one of the main control panels, chirping loudly and urgently. "There's nothing wrong with that panel," Tejo said, looking confused. "The problem is in the fuel system." But Bit kept chirping and pointing at the panel with its nose. Finally, Tejo decided to check it anyway. When he opened the panel, he found a serious problem that the ship's computers had not detected yet. "If this had failed while we were in hyperspace," Tejo said quietly, "we would all be dead." Captain So Young looked at Bit with new respect. "How did it know?" she asked. Nobody had an answer, but from that day on, Bit was welcome anywhere on the ship. The creature seemed to enjoy exploring the Soul's Pride. It would follow crew members around as they worked, always careful not to get in the way. Bit was especially fascinated by the navigation system. It would sit for hours watching the star charts on the main display. Sometimes it would chirp and point at certain stars, as if it recognized them. "It's like it's been in space before," Captain So Young said one day. The most amazing thing happened during a solar storm in the middle of their journey. The ship's lights went out, and emergency power kicked in. The crew was nervous because solar storms could damage their equipment. That's when Bit began to glow. The creature's scales lit up with beautiful patterns of light that moved across its body like waves. The lights were soft and calming, not harsh like the emergency lighting. The patterns seemed to pulse in rhythm with the creature's breathing. "Incredible," whispered Yunmi, the ship's communications officer. She had come to see what was happening in the common area. "It's like a living light show." The crew gathered around Bit, watching the amazing display. The patterns of light were not random. They seemed to follow some kind of order, like a language made of colors and shapes. "Do you think it's trying to tell us something?" Hyun-woo asked. Before anyone could answer, the storm passed and the ship's normal lights came back on. Bit's scales slowly returned to their usual shimmer, and the creature curled up for a nap as if nothing unusual had happened. That was not normal animal behavior, Captain So Young said quietly to Hyun-woo later. "What exactly did you find down in those caves?" Hyun-woo had been wondering the same thing. Bit was clearly much more than just a simple cave creature. The way it understood technology, the way it had saved them from the engine failure, and especially the light patterns it could create, none of that was normal for any animal he knew about. "I think," Hyun-woo said slowly, "that Bit might be more intelligent than we realized." "How intelligent?" the captain asked. Hyun-woo looked at Bit, who was now sleeping peacefully on his favorite blanket. "Maybe as intelligent as we are." For the rest of their journey back to Earth, Hyun-woo spent more time trying to communicate with Bit. He would point at objects and say their names in Korean. Bit seemed to understand and would repeat the sounds back as close as it could manage with its different vocal cords. By the time they reached Earth's solar system, Bit could recognize dozens of Korean words and could even make simple requests by combining chirps and gestures. But none of them were prepared for what they would find when they got home. The Soul's Pride was still 2 days away from Earth when the emergency transmission came through. Captain So Young was on the bridge checking their approach when her communications panel lit up with an urgent priority signal. "This is Admiral Minho of Terran Defense Command," came the serious voice over the speakers. "Captain So Young, you need to change course immediately. Do not approach Earth." The captain looked confused. "Admiral, this is Captain So Young. We're returning from a routine mining mission. What's the problem?" "The problem, Captain, is that we have visitors, big ones, and they seem to be looking for something that might be on your ship." Hyun-woo felt his stomach drop. He was in his quarters with Bit when the announcement came over the ship's speakers. The creature looked up at him with those intelligent eyes, and Hyun-woo could swear he saw understanding there. "All crew to the bridge immediately," Captain So Young announced. When everyone gathered on the bridge, Admiral Minho's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired and worried. Behind him, Yunwu could see people running around in what looked like a military command center. 3 days ago, the Admiral began, massive ships appeared throughout our solar system. They're unlike anything we've ever seen before. They're not attacking, but they're clearly powerful enough to destroy us if they wanted to. The screen changed to show images of the alien ships. Hyunwoo gasped. The ships were enormous, easily 10 times the size of Earth's largest vessels. They looked like they had been grown rather than built, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to shimmer like living skin. There are 12 ships total, Admiral Minho continued. They've positioned themselves near all our major colonies and space stations. They're scanning everything with some kind of energy beam, but they haven't made any hostile moves. Captain So-young leaned forward. What do they want? That's the strange part, the Admiral said. They've only sent one message, and it was broadcast in perfect Korean. The message was, "We seek the young one who was taken. Return what is ours, and we will depart in peace." Hyunwoo felt all eyes turn to him. His mouth went dry as he realized what this meant. Bit, who had been sitting quietly at his feet, suddenly began to chirp softly. "The message has been repeating every 6 hours," Admiral Minho continued. "We've tried to respond, but they won't talk to us. They just keep scanning and waiting." "Admiral," Captain So-young said carefully, "one of our crew members brought back a small creature from Kepler 442c. Could that be what they're looking for?" The Admiral's expression became very serious. "Bring your ship to Luna Station immediately. We need to see this creature." As the Soul's Pride changed course toward the moon, Hyunwoo sat in his quarters with Bit. The creature seemed different now, more alert and restless. Its scales were shifting through colors more quickly than usual. "You understand what's happening, don't you?" Hyunwoo asked softly. Bit looked up at him and made a complex series of chirps and whistles. The sounds were more musical than before, like a song with meaning that Hyunwoo couldn't quite grasp. "Those are your people out there, aren't they?" Hyunwoo continued. "Your family." Bit moved closer to Hyunwoo and gently rubbed against his leg, the way a cat might seek comfort. But there was something sad in the gesture, as if the creature was saying goodbye. News of the alien fleet had spread quickly throughout human space. By the time the Soul's Pride reached Luna Station, every news channel was talking about the mysterious visitors. Some people were excited about first contact with aliens. Others were terrified that humanity was about to be invaded. The space station was busier than Hyunwoo had ever seen it. Military ships were everywhere, and the docking bays were full of people in uniforms he didn't recognize. When they docked, a group of officials was waiting for them. Hyunwoo recognized Dr. Yoon-ji, a famous scientist who studied alien life. There was also a man in a diplomatic uniform who introduced himself as Ambassador Jin-ho. "Where is the creature?" Dr. Yoon-ji asked immediately. Hyunwoo brought Bit out in a special carrier they had made for the creature. When the scientists saw Bit, several of them gasped. "Remarkable," Dr. Yoon-ji whispered. "The bone structure, the scale patterns. This is definitely not from Earth." Ambassador Jin-ho knelt down to look at Bit more closely. "Hello, little one," he said gently. Bit looked at the ambassador and began to make those musical sounds again. This time, the sounds were even more complex, like a language that was too sophisticated for human ears to fully understand. "It's trying to communicate," Dr. Yoonji said excitedly. "Those aren't just animal sounds. There's a pattern to them, a structure." "Can you understand what it's saying?" Ambassador Jin-ho asked. "Not yet, but I'm working on it. The creature seems to be responding to Korean words, which explains why the alien message was in Korean." They moved to a special laboratory where Dr. Yoonji began running tests on Bit. The creature was patient and cooperative, as if it understood that the tests were important. Meanwhile, reports kept coming in about the alien fleet. The massive ships had not moved from their positions, but their scanning had become more intense. People were starting to panic in some parts of the solar system. They're definitely looking for something specific, Admiral Minho reported during a video conference. And their scanning patterns suggest they're looking for a life form, not an object. That evening, as Hyunwoo sat with Bit in the laboratory, the creature did something that amazed everyone. It began to glow with those beautiful light patterns. Again, but this time the patterns were different. They formed shapes that looked almost like pictures. "Look at this," Dr. Yoonji called to the others. "It's showing us something." The light patterns on Bit's scales formed the shape of a star system, then showed what looked like ships traveling between planets. The images were simple but clear. "It's telling us a story," Ambassador Jin-ho said in wonder. The light show continued for several minutes, showing images of creatures that looked like larger versions of Bit living on different worlds. Then the images changed to show ships searching through space, as if looking for something lost. When the lights faded, Bit looked up at Hyunwoo with those intelligent eyes and chirped softly. The sound was definitely sad now. "It's homesick," Hyunwoo realized. "It wants to go home." Dr. Yoonji nodded. "And now its family has come looking for it." The question was, what would happen when they found it? As if in answer to that thought, alarms began sounding throughout Luna Station. On the screens, they could see one of the massive alien ships slowly moving toward the moon. "They've found us," Admiral Minho's voice came over the speakers. "The ship is approaching Luna Station. All personnel prepare for possible first contact." Bit's scales began to glow brighter than ever before, pulsing with patterns of light that seemed to reach out toward its approaching family. The moment that would change human history forever was about to begin. The massive alien ship stopped just outside Luna Station's defensive perimeter. Up close, it was even more amazing than the pictures had shown. The ship's surface rippled with organic patterns, and soft lights moved across its hull like a gentle pulse. It was clearly alive in ways that human ships could never be. Dr. Yoonji worked frantically in the laboratory, trying to understand more about Bit's communication patterns. The creature had become very active since the ship arrived, chirping and glowing almost constantly. "I think I'm starting to understand some of the basic patterns," she told Ambassador Jin-ho. "The musical sounds seem to be emotional expressions, while the light patterns carry more complex information." Hyunwoo stayed close to Bit, trying to keep the creature calm. He could tell that Bit was excited but also nervous about seeing its family again. "It's okay," he whispered to the small creature. "They're here to take you home." Bit looked up at him with those large, intelligent eyes and made a soft sound that seemed almost like a question. Then the creature gently touched Hyunwoo's hand with one small claw. Ambassador Jin-ho received a message from the alien ship. "They want to send a representative to the station," he announced. "They're asking for permission to dock." "Grant it," Admiral Minho said over the communication system. "But keep all weapons ready, just in case." An hour later, everyone on Luna Station watched as a smaller craft separated from the massive ship. This vessel was about the size of a human shuttle, but it moved through space with an elegant grace that no human ship could match. When the craft docked with Luna Station, the airlock opened to reveal something that took everyone's breath away. The being that emerged was clearly related to Bit, but much larger. It was about the size of a horse, with magnificent scales that shimmered with deep blues and purples. Its wings were folded against its back, and its eyes held the same intelligence that Hyunwoo had seen in Bit. The creature moved slowly and carefully, clearly trying not to frighten anyone. When it spoke, the voice that came from its throat was surprisingly musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am thunder across stars," the being said in perfect Korean. "I serve as voice for the Queen Mother of our people. We have come seeking our young one." Dr. Yoonji stepped forward, trying to hide her amazement. "I am Dr. Yoonji. We have the young one you seek. It has been well cared for." Thunder Across Stars looked around the room until its gaze fell on Bit. The small creature immediately began, chirping excitedly and glowing with happy patterns of light. The larger being approached slowly and gently touched Bit with its nose. Light patterns flowed between them, and Hyunwoo realized he was watching a conversation in a language made of light and color. Spark of Dawn speaks well of the human who saved its life, Thunder Across Stars said, looking at Hyunwoo. It says, "You showed great kindness when it was hurt and alone." Spark of Dawn? Hyunwoo asked. That is the young one's true name, Thunder Across Stars explained. What you call Bit is Spark of Dawn, child of our Queen Mother. Ambassador Jin-ho stepped forward. We had no idea the creature was so important. The human who found it was only trying to save its life. Thunder Across Stars studied each of the humans carefully. This we have learned from Spark of Dawn's memories. Your species shows compassion for those who are not like you. This is unusual. Unusual how? Doctor, Yoonji asked. We have traveled among the stars for many generations, Thunder Across Stars replied. We have met many different kinds of life. Most species fear us because we are large and different. Others try to capture us because they want to study our abilities. Few show simple kindness without expecting something in return. Bit, or Spark of Dawn, chirped and pointed at Hyunwoo with its nose. Thunder Across Stars nodded as if understanding. Spark of Dawn wishes to show you something, the larger being said. Will you permit it to touch your mind? It will not harm you, but it will allow you to understand our history. Hyunwoo felt nervous, but he trusted the small creature that had become his friend. Yes, he said. Spark of Dawn moved close to Hyunwoo and gently placed one claw on his forehead. Suddenly, Hyunwoo's mind was filled with images and feelings that were not his own. He saw vast cities that grew like trees from living rock. He saw creatures like Spark of Dawn and Thunder Across Stars soaring through alien skies, their scales, catching light from strange suns. He felt the sadness of leaving dying worlds behind and the hope of finding new homes among the stars. But he also felt fear and loneliness. He saw other species running away when the dragon-like beings approached. He felt the pain of being attacked by those who thought the beings were monsters. He experienced the careful isolation that came from being too different, too powerful, too misunderstood. When the connection ended, Hyunwoo had tears in his eyes. You're refugees, he said quietly. You're looking for a new home. Thunder Across Stars seemed surprised by his understanding. Yes. Our old galaxy is dying. We have searched for many years to find worlds where we can live in peace. What about here? Ambassador Jin-ho asked. Would you consider settling in our solar system? That would depend, Thunder Across Stars replied, on whether your species can accept neighbors who are very different from you. Dr. Yoonji looked excited. Think of what we could learn from each other. Your biotechnology, your understanding of space travel. But Thunder Across Stars held up one claw. We have heard such words before from other species. They speak of learning and cooperation, but they really want to take our knowledge and use it for war. Not all humans are like that, Hyunwoo said firmly. Look at what happened with Spark of Dawn. I didn't know it was important or powerful. I just saw something that was hurt and needed help. Thunder Across Stars studied him for a long moment. This is true, but one human's kindness does not speak for all your species. Then let us prove it, Ambassador Jin-ho said. Give us a chance to show you that humanity can be trusted. The decision is not mine alone, Thunder Across Stars replied. The Queen Mother must hear from your leaders, but she has decided to offer your species a choice. What kind of choice? Admiral Minho asked over the communication system. Thunder Across Stars stood taller, and its voice became more formal. You may join with us as partners in exploring and settling new worlds. We will share our knowledge and abilities with you, and you will share yours with us. Together, we can build homes among the stars that neither of our species could create alone. And if we refuse? Ambassador Jin-Ho asked. Then we will take Spark of Dawn and leave your solar system forever. You will never see us again, and you will continue your journey among the stars alone. The room fell silent as everyone realized the importance of this moment. Humanity was being offered a partnership that could change their future forever, or they could lose the chance for any alien contact at all. How long do we have to decide? Ambassador Jin-Ho asked. The Queen Mother will wait for one of your months, Thunder Across Stars replied. But the choice must be made by all your people, not just your leaders. We have seen what happens when leaders make decisions that their people do not support. Spark of Dawn chirped and glowed with complex patterns. Thunder Across Stars listened to the light language and then looked at Hyunwoo. Spark of Dawn has made a request, the larger being said. It wishes to remain here during the month of decision, to serve as a bridge between our peoples. It believes this will help your species understand that we mean no harm. Hyunwoo felt his heart skip. He had been dreading the moment when he would have to say goodbye to his small friend. Would that be safe for Spark of Dawn? He asked. It would be an honor, Thunder Across Stars replied. And Spark of Dawn specifically requests to remain with you, the human who saved its life. As Thunder Across Stars prepared to return to the Queen Mother's ship, Hyunwoo realized that the next month would determine not just his own future, but the future of all humanity. The choice between the stars and solitude had begun. 3 weeks had passed since Thunder Across Stars returned to the Queen Mother's ship. During that time, Spark of Dawn had become the most famous creature on Earth. News teams wanted to film it. Scientists wanted to study it, and world leaders wanted to meet it. But Spark of Dawn seemed happiest when it was just with Hyunwoo, helping him answer the thousands of questions that came from around the world. The creature had learned to understand much more Korean and could even write simple words using its claws on a special tablet. Public opinion about the alien partnership was divided. Some countries were excited about the possibility of new technology and knowledge. Others worried that the dragon-like beings would take over Earth or that humans would become dependent on alien help. Dr. Yoon-ji had learned to interpret many of Spark of Dawn's light patterns, and she worked as a translator during the many video conferences with world leaders. The creature was patient and gentle, trying to answer every question about its people. Are your people peaceful? Asked the President of Korea during one such conference. Spark of Dawn's scales shimmered with soft green and blue patterns. Doctor, Yoonji translated, it says yes, but they will defend themselves if attacked. They have weapons, but they prefer to build rather than destroy. What do they want from us? Asked the Prime Minister of Japan. This time the light patterns were more complex, showing images of cooperation and shared work. They want partnership, Dr. Yoonji explained. They have knowledge we lack, but we have ideas and perspectives they find valuable. They think humans and their people could accomplish great things together. But not everyone was convinced. Some military leaders worried about alien weapons. Some religious groups thought the beings were dangerous. Some business leaders were afraid that alien technology would put human companies out of work. As the month of decision neared its end, it became clear that humanity was deeply divided. No one could agree on what choice to make. That's when Thunder Across Stars sent an unexpected message. The Queen Mother wishes to speak directly with the human who saved Spark of Dawn. She will receive him aboard our ship if he is willing. Hyunwoo felt both excited and terrified. What does she want to talk about? He asked. The Queen Mother does not explain her decisions, Thunder Across Stars replied. But she believes that understanding one human deeply may help her understand all humans better. Despite the protests of several world leaders who thought it was too dangerous, Hyunwoo agreed to visit the alien ship. Spark of Dawn would go with him, both as his friend and as his translator. The journey to the massive ship was made in one of the smaller alien vessels. As they approached, Hyunwoo was amazed by the size of the Queen Mother's ship. It was like a floating city, easily large enough to hold millions of beings. When they docked, Thunder Across Stars was waiting for them. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Flame," the being said. "The Queen Mother awaits you in the heart chamber." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Hyunwoo realized he was inside something that was both a machine and a living creature. The walls pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Soft lights moved through veins in the ceiling, carrying information from one part of the ship to another. The air itself seemed to shimmer with energy. "How is this possible?" Hyunwoo asked. "We do not build our ships," Thunder Across Stars explained. "We grow them. They are living beings that choose to carry us among the stars." They passed other members of Spark of Dawn's species in the corridors. Some were smaller, like Spark of Dawn, while others were even larger than Thunder Across Stars. All of them had the same intelligent eyes and beautiful scales, but each one was unique in its colors and patterns. The heart chamber was at the center of the ship, a vast spherical room with no walls or ceiling that Hyunwoo could see clearly. Everything seemed to fade into a gentle, star-filled darkness. In the center of this space floated the most magnificent being Hyunwoo had ever seen. The Queen Mother was enormous, easily the size of an earth whale, but she moved through the air with impossible grace. Her scales contained what looked like tiny galaxies, swirling with stars and nebulae. When she spoke, her voice was like music from the depths of space itself. "Welcome, Hyunwoo of Earth," she said, and somehow he understood her perfectly even though she was not speaking Korean. "I am Song of the Deep Stars, Queen Mother of the Viridian people." "Your Majesty," Hyunwoo said, not sure of the proper way to address an alien queen. "Thank you for allowing me to visit your ship." "You saved the life of my child," Song of the Deep Stars replied. "That makes you family to me, regardless of what species you belong to." The Queen Mother moved closer, and Hyunwoo could see the tiny stars swirling in her scales. "I would like to understand your memories of saving Spark of Dawn, if you will permit it." Hyunwoo nodded, and the Queen Mother gently touched his forehead with one massive claw. Suddenly, he was reliving those 3 days in the crystal caves, but from the Queen Mother's perspective. She experienced his decision to help an injured creature, his careful tending of Spark of Dawn's wounds, and his choice to bring the young one with him instead of leaving it alone. But the Queen Mother also experienced something else through his memories, his emotions. She felt his compassion for a creature in pain, his worry about breaking company rules, and his growing friendship with Spark of Dawn. When the connection ended, the Queen Mother was quiet for a long time. "In all our travels," she finally said, "we have rarely encountered such purity of intention. You expected nothing from saving Spark of Dawn. You gained nothing except the satisfaction of helping someone who needed help." "That's what anyone would have done," Hyunwoo said. "No," Song of the Deep Stars replied sadly. "It is not. We have learned this through many painful experiences with other species." The Queen Mother began to tell him about the Viridian people's long journey through space. They had once lived in a galaxy far away, on worlds of incredible beauty and peace. But their galaxy was dying, its stars growing cold and its planets becoming uninhabitable. "We had to leave everything behind," she explained. "Our cities, our history, even the graves of our ancestors. We saved what we could and began searching for new homes." The search had not been easy. Many species feared the Viridians because of their size and power. Others tried to capture them to steal their biotechnology. Some had even pretended to be friendly, only to attack when the Viridians trusted them. We have become careful, Song of the Deep Stars admitted. Perhaps, too, careful. We no longer seek friendship with other species, only tolerance and space to live in peace. But you came looking for Spark of Dawn, Hyunwoo pointed out. A child of the royal family cannot be abandoned, the Queen Mother replied. But we expected to find either a dead child or one held prisoner by another predatory species. We did not expect to find Spark of Dawn healthy and happy, cared for by someone who asked for nothing in return. Spark of Dawn, who had been listening, quietly chirped and glowed with complex patterns. The Queen Mother listened to the light language and then looked at Hyunwoo with something that might have been amusement. Spark of Dawn says you are still worried about breaking your company's rules by bringing it aboard your ship, she said. Even after all this, you worry about such small things. Hyunwoo felt embarrassed. I guess I do. This is why I believe your species may be different, Song of the Deep Stars said. Other species focus on what they can gain from us. You worry about whether you followed proper procedures when saving a life. The Queen Mother moved to one wall of the chamber, where images began to appear, showing beautiful worlds among distant stars. If your people choose to join with us, she said, we will travel together to these worlds. We will build cities that grow from the ground like trees, where your children and ours can play together under alien suns. And if we choose not to join you, Hyunwoo asked, then we will leave and continue our search alone, Song of the Deep Stars replied. But I hope that will not be necessary. Spark of Dawn has taught us much about human kindness in these past weeks. Perhaps it is time for the Viridian people to trust again. As Hyunwoo prepared to return to Earth, the Queen Mother had one final gift for him. She touched his mind once more, this time sharing her own memories of the Viridian home worlds. In their glory days, he saw cities of living crystal that sang in the wind, forests where the trees themselves were intelligent, and oceans filled with creatures of impossible beauty. This is what we hope to build again, she said. Not just for our people, but for any who choose to share the dream. When Hyunwoo returned to Earth, he carried with him not just the Queen Mother's words, but the memory of her dreams. The question now was whether humanity would be brave enough to share those dreams. The final decision was only days away. The final week before humanity's decision was chaotic. News channels ran constant debates about the Viridian partnership. Social media was filled with arguments between those who supported joining with the aliens and those who opposed it. Protests happened in major cities around the world, some calling for acceptance, and others demanding that the dragon invaders leave Earth alone. Hyunwoo found himself at the center of it all. As the human who had saved Spark of Dawn and met the Queen Mother, everyone wanted to hear his opinion. He gave interviews, spoke at conferences, and answered thousands of questions from world leaders. What do you think we should do? Asked President Park of Korea during a private meeting. I think, Hyunwoo said carefully, that we should remember why this all started. A small creature was hurt and alone. I helped it because that was the right thing to do. Now its people are offering to help us in return. Maybe we should focus on that simple truth instead of all our fears. But fear was a powerful force. Military leaders worried that the Viridians might conquer Earth. Business leaders feared that alien technology would destroy human jobs. Some religious groups claimed that accepting the aliens would anger God. The opposition became even stronger when a group of scientists published a report claiming that the Viridians were too dangerous to trust. These beings can grow living ships and communicate through telepathy, the report said. If they decide to turn against us, we would have no defense. Dr. Yoonji disagreed strongly with this report. I have worked with Spark of Dawn for weeks, she told anyone who would listen. These beings are not conquerors. They are refugees looking for a new home. If anything, we should be honored that they want to share their knowledge with us. 3 days before the deadline, something happened that changed everything. A massive earthquake struck the southern coast of Japan, causing widespread destruction. Buildings collapsed, roads cracked, and thousands of people were trapped under rubble. Spark of Dawn was with Hyunwoo in Seoul when the news broke. The creature watched the disaster coverage on television, its scales shifting through colors that Dr. Yoon-ji had learned meant distress and sympathy. "It wants to help," she translated as Spark of Dawn chirped urgently. "It says its people have technology that could save the trapped humans." Within hours, Thunder Across Stars had brought a small team of Viridians to the disaster zone. What happened next was broadcast live to the entire world. The Viridians had brought small devices that looked like metallic seeds. When they planted these devices in the rubble, the seeds immediately began to grow into living structures. These biomechanical vines could sense where humans were trapped and carefully dig through debris without causing further collapse. But the most amazing sight was Spark of Dawn itself, now grown to nearly the size of Thunder Across Stars, working alongside human rescue workers. The creature could squeeze into spaces too small for humans and use its sensitive hearing to locate survivors. Its scales provided light in dark spaces, and its gentle touch could comfort frightened victims. The image that appeared on front pages around the world showed Spark of Dawn carefully carrying a human child to safety, while Japanese rescue workers cheered in the background. The creature's scales were glowing with soft, comforting patterns that seemed to calm everyone around it. "This is what partnership looks like," Hyunwoo said during a news interview the next day. "Not conquest, not control, but beings helping beings in times of need." The rescue operation saved over 3,000 lives that would have been lost without Viridian help. More importantly, it showed the world what humans and Viridians could accomplish together. Public opinion began to shift dramatically. The protests in major cities changed from "Go home aliens" to "Thank you for helping." Children drew pictures of Spark of Dawn saving people from earthquakes. Scientists who had opposed the partnership began to reconsider their positions. "Maybe," said Dr. Kim, who had written the anti-Viridian report, "we were looking at this the wrong way. Instead of focusing on what we might lose, we should consider what we might gain." On the day before the deadline, the United Nations held a final vote. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to make the decision that would determine humanity's future. Hyunwoo was invited to speak before the vote. As he stood at the podium, looking out at delegates from around the world, he thought about everything that had happened since he found a small, injured creature in a crystal cave. "A month ago," he began, "I was just a mining surveyor doing my job. I found something hurt and helped it because that was the right thing to do. I had no idea that this simple act would lead to humanity's first contact with an alien species." He paused and looked at Spark of Dawn, who was sitting in a special area for honored guests. The creature's scales were glowing softly with what Dr. Yoon-ji had identified as expressions of friendship and hope. "The Viridians aren't asking us to give up our independence or our culture," Hyunwoo continued. "They're offering us partnership. They want to share their knowledge and abilities with us, and they want us to share ours with them. Together, we can explore new worlds and build new homes among the stars." He took a deep breath. "I think the real question isn't whether we can trust them. The question is whether we can trust ourselves to be worthy partners. Can we overcome our fears and prejudices to work with beings who are different from us? Can we be the species that chooses cooperation over conflict?" When the vote was taken, the result was closer than many had expected, but clear enough to be decisive. By a margin of 187 votes to 6, with 0 abstentions, humanity chose to accept the Viridian partnership. The celebration that followed was unlike anything in human history. In cities around the world, people gathered to watch as the Viridian ships began moving into positions around Earth's solar system. These weren't invasion positions, but cooperative ones, designed to establish joint stations for trade and communication. 6 months later, Hyun-woo stood on the observation deck of New Seoul Station, the first human Viridian joint facility. Through the large windows, he could see both human and Viridian ships working together to build something that neither species could have created alone. Spark of Dawn, now fully grown and serving as cultural exchange ambassador, approached him, with a small bundle in its claws. "What's that?" Hyun-woo asked. Spark of Dawn's scales displayed patterns that Dr. Yoonji had taught him meant gift and friendship. The creature carefully unwrapped the bundle to reveal a small egg with scales that shimmered like tiny rainbows. "For me?" Hyun-woo asked, amazed. Spark of Dawn chirped happily and nodded. The patterns on its scales now showed family and trust. Through the mental connection they had learned to share, Spark of Dawn explained that the egg contained a young Viridian who would be raised to understand both human and Viridian cultures. "You want me to help raise it?" Hyun-woo asked. The answer came not in words, but in a warm feeling of affection and trust that flowed through their mental link. Spark of Dawn trusted him enough to help care for its own offspring. A year later, Hyun-woo's daughter So-jin took her first steps in the nursery of New Seoul Station. Playing beside her was a small Viridian hatchling named Dawn of New Hope, whose scales sparkled with joy as the two children laughed together. From his office window, Hyun-woo could see the construction of humanity's first interstellar colony, SHIP, a beautiful fusion of human engineering and Viridian biotechnology. Soon, humans and Viridians would travel together to distant stars, carrying their children and their dreams to new worlds. Dr. Yoonji often said that the partnership succeeded because both species had something the other needed. Humans had curiosity and adaptability, while Viridians had knowledge and wisdom. But Hyun-woo thought the real reason was simpler than that. Sometimes, he believed, the universe rewarded those who chose kindness over fear, compassion over suspicion, and love over hate. When he had found Spark of Dawn injured in those crystal caves, he had made a choice based on simple human decency. That choice had changed the fate of two species and opened a path to the stars. As he watched his daughter and her Viridian friend play together, Hyun-woo smiled. The future was going to be very different from what anyone had expected, but it was going to be beautiful, and it had all started with one small act of kindness in a cave far from home.